Hi everyone. I was in a conversation about the bubble size and if a bleed valve, because it reduces the airflow, will make the bubbles too small. And I realized that is a very common question. So I decided to do an impromptu video in which I demonstrate at least what I use to consider uh, if the bubbles are too small or not. So actually we are seeing here, I have three stones. By the way, sorry, I have not set up properly yet the tank, so the salt is still jumping all over around and everything is dirty, so I will be doing that later. But right now the main point is bubbles, safe bubbles, and the bleed valve. Okay, so anyhow, starting with the bubbles, this one is kind of borderline on my definition. As you can see, the bubbles down here are better. And because the definition I have, this is a good, come on, there we go. If you are seeing the sea monkey from the top, imagine that you have a drawing of seeing with a sea monkey. If I would draw these sea monkeys from the top, and I would draw a circle in the middle of the sea monkey, if that sea monkey, if that circle is wider than the dark line in the back of the largest sea monkey, then that bubble size, that circle, could represent the bubble size that is safe for that sea monkey. And if that bubble that is wider than the dark line in the back of the largest sea monkey, then that bubble size should be safe for the rest of the colony. Because for a bubble to be able to enter a sea monkey, need to be small enough that can fit through the swimming fins of the sea monkey. So that's why I say these bubbles are kind of borderline. So the size depends on the airflow and on the condition of the airstone. My airstone, this type, show you. So how you see a sea monkey that have taken air, normally you see it floating with the fins, swimming fins facing downwards to the bottom, and you see it with a shiny back. The shiny back is bubble, air that it has ingested, and eventually will die because it cannot swim to get food. And I have not found a way to fix that after it had happened. But since I started making sure that the bubbles are wider than the dark line in the back of the largest sea monkey, over a year I have not, that had not happened in any of my tanks. Anyhow, let me show the other tank that I have the bubbles. So here the bubbles are a little larger, so here the bubbles are safer. So okay, so now to demonstrate or simulate, because my setup, if you check in YouTube the keywords aquarium bleed valve, normally you have a setup of only one bleed valve in one line. But I have a little different setup with a splitter. But that is not what most people need. So what I will do, first, I will close the bleed valve completely. To maximize the airflow. Then which one I will choose? I will choose this one. This one I will open completely. So it will simulate this way. It will simulate a airstone without a bleed valve. And I'm gonna close the other two airstones, so that way I will have set up an equivalent of having one airstone with a one bleed valve. So that is close, almost close. As close as it can be. And now to close the one below. This splitter is kind of old, so being plastic is some valves are not closing completely, as you can see here, but this is good for the simulation. So right now is as equivalent to have a open airline with no bleed valve. Right now, most of the power of the air pump. And by the way, this is I leave this air pump turned on 24/7, and it's an air pump that has capacity that is supposed to suffice for 1 gallon up to 15 gallons. Okay, anyhow, so right now this is open to the maximum. So this is like a bleed valve, an airstone with no bleed valve at all. That is essentially the setup of people have that cannot control the airflow. So after you have set up your bleed valve, essentially it will be equivalent to what I have here. So right now the bleed valve is closed, and I will start opening the bleed valve. So that deviates. Make sure that I turn it to the right way. And as you can see, as I open it, it quite easily controls the airflow without putting extra pressure in the air pump. So essentially, if you have only one airstone and you do the simple setup of one bleed valve in that line, as I said, you can find it in YouTube using the keywords aquarium bleed valve. Then you can easily control the airflow without putting extra pressure in your air pump. And the bubbles here are kind of borderline with my definition of if a bubble is wider than the back line, dark line in the back of the largest sea monkey, then that size of bubble should be safe for the whole colony. So there you go. So essentially, this is the equivalent of the blip valve. You saw it how it works and how I adjusted the size of the bubbles with the blip valve. And as I mentioned, the size of the bubbles depend on the air stone that you use. Okay, so that was about my simulated single air stone with one blip valve, and about the safe size of the bubbles for the sea monkeys. See you later, everyone.